friends. My name's Steve Guttenberg. This guy over here in Canada, you're in Canada. That's Jay from Next Best Thing Studio. I get it wrong though, right? That's not it?
No, the Next Best Thing Studio. That's right.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Uh, anyway, so we chatted the other day. I'm a big fan. I'm happy to see younger people getting in the audio channel, so to speak. Uh, this channel, the YouTube channel, and also the Wider World channel. But Jay, you've been around the block, man. You've done a lot. You said you had a Krell KSA 50. That was one of your first purchases.
Well, not one of my first, but one of for sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you have 60 speakers in your basement.
Well, I had 60 speakers in my basement. Yeah. So before I started this entire YouTube thing, I went on to buy, stuff like quad ESL 63, 53 stacks, JBL 100, 4311, all that vintage stuff. And I had friends that influenced me, my coworkers and others alike, in the vintage world. So I couldn't help myself, and I bought one thing next to another. And one day, my friend that came over, he looks in my basement and he goes, "Jesus Christ, man! Like, how many speakers do you have in here?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I haven't counted." And I counted, and including the one that was playing upstairs, there was about 60 pairs. Yeah, and that's excluding all the mini monitors, up in the bedroom and stuff like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, my friends say that I have obsessive behavior, and I should never gamble. And I have never gambled, so thank God. But I, I'm I'm a type of person. It's a very negative thing about me. Where if I want something or if I have a goal, I can't sleep and I can't eat. So, a lot of people, when I do my videos, say, "Jay, you need to get some sleep." Well, that's because if I have a video that's upcoming and I'm preparing for that review, I can't get it out of my head. I'm as I'm sleeping, I'm thinking, well, the speaker sound this way. This has to take these kind of specs. I have to review it tomorrow. I just can't sleep until I get the review out, and or I have this idea in my head, how great this piece of gear is. Then I gotta go and chase after it, and I can't sleep and I can't eat properly until I have it in my hands. So one of the speakers I really like is the JBL L300, and that speaker, man, I couldn't find one in a very good condition because it's a speaker from like 1980s,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was looking for it and I couldn't find it for like 2 months. And that drove me crazy. I was looking everywhere, audio gone, Kenlock audio. And then one day, someone messages me, say, "Hey, are you looking for the JBL L300?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he says, "Okay, well, I'll give you a price." And so I got the price and I was okay with the price. And he wanted me to pick it up now because there was three other people interested. And I said, "No, no, 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 don't sell it to anyone else. No, I'm leaving right now." It was a 3-hour drive. I don't even remember where I went. I just, GPSed it and just started going. I took my cousin because I knew I needed an extra set of hands for those big speakers, and I went. And that was on Christmas Day.
Wow.
So instead of enjoying my Christmas, I went on audio hunting during Christmas. So I guess I enjoyed it. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. It was snowing and stuff. Yeah. It was
Wow.
interesting. Yeah.
Still have them?
No, I sold them. So I made a video right before I sold them, and I was contemplating. It's probably one of the most um, poorly made videos on my channel. A lot of people tell me that's one of my best videos because I seem so natural and genuine. Um, and also, it's one of the most viewed video, and I have no idea why. I wish there was other, well-produced videos that I did that had nearly as much views, but that video is interesting. It has the most views, but the most poorly recorded quality.
But you told me I think the way you put it was that you grew up in a studio,
Hmm.
a recording studio, or
Yeah, recording studio. So, um, I'm Korean. So for those of you that don't know where that is, it's right below China and so between Japan and China. And people ask me if I'm North Korean. No, I'm not North Korean. I'm South Korean. Um, so yeah, I grew up there, and my grandfather was a huge, he played harmonica. He just looked at someone. He looked at someone play piano, and my mother can do the same thing. I'm the only one in the family that can't do this, so I'm bringing shame to my family, if you so will. But they would see someone play piano, just look at it, and they don't even know the piece, and they can replicate exactly how they played it and play it right. Yeah, so they had that kind of ability. So I grew up in a family like that, and once I grew up to a certain age, I think around 9 or so, I started going to studios, my and really play around with it. So I went from classical producing studios to rap producing studios to, and at those times I even saw like avant-garde, some JBL speakers, but I didn't really think much of it. I saw like some PMC speakers, so a lot of hi-fi speakers that I'm seeing these days and going like, oh, I remember that company from way back. Oh, they're doing hi-fi now. But yeah, it's cool to see that. And so that's how I came to be. And yeah, I did a lot of studio work. And yeah.
That's a good foundation. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, well, it was very interesting because hi-fi and studio, it has a good connection, but at the same time, very far apart in some ways. Yeah.
I would agree. I mean, it's funny because to the outsider, to an average audiophile, at least the, the engineers and stuff would, close enough to us, to audiophiles, that we would be on a very parallel track, but we're not, because I think what engineers are looking for is not generally what we're looking for, because what they're looking
Mhm,
for is, I hate that word, but a tool to hear what's going on so they know exactly what's happening. And
mhm,
audiophiles, whether they want to admit it or not, are listening for pleasure. They want it to sound some version of good. And sounding good, as far as I can tell, isn't a priority in a recording studio. They're not looking for things to sound good.
yeah, in most cases, you never ask an engineering, squad, hey, does it sound good? Should we swap the, solid state mixer to a, tube mixer? No, we don't ask those questions.
But it's a good background to do what you're doing, to have that kind of experience, to hear it from the studio perspective first.
Yeah, and also, people, I found out funny how, some, hi-fi dudes out there will be like, well, how do you know you weren't in the studio? Well, I have few pieces that I play through some of the speakers that I review. Some of those pieces are actually, I was on the team that, mixed and mastered it. So I know exactly, how they did it. So I know exactly how they're supposed to sound like.
Yeah, no, it's nice to have that perspective, especially if you're critiquing things. You have some clue. Actually, I've rarely been impressed with the sound I've heard in studios. Matter of fact,
Hmm,
I was in
hmm,
a really high-end, famous studio a couple of years ago in New York, and they were playing some, for me and some other people, old, classic records, classic rock records that they had masters of. And when they say masters, they actually meant the masters, because a lot of people say they've heard masters. In this case, it was the real deal. And I'm sitting there listening to these things and thinking, if I could get up and leave, I would, but I can't, because it'll be like not respectful
yeah,
for me to do that. So I'm going to sit and
yeah.
suffer through this. But I was actually really not happy hearing the master through the system in their room.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's more so, does it sound correct? Like, does it sound neutral? Is the bass just the amount of emphasis that it needs, for the engineer? It's matter of those things, not necessarily is it pleasure to listen to, or, like audiophiles, does it sound to be airy and all that stuff. But my first speaker was actually the Magnepan point 7 and the KEF LS50.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a great start. When you say you're
Yeah.
first, because you had other things before that? I mean, when you were younger?
Oh
No?
yeah, when I was younger, I mean, I had relatives that had like Macintosh gear because Koreans, if you Koreans are like name and Macintosh and stuff like that. So, my relatives had Macintosh gear. I came here when I was 6 years old, and I've stayed here, until middle school. Went back for middle school for around a year and a half, because I was beginning to forget my own language. And my mother decided, oh, he needs to know his own language. It's a communication problem here. So I went back and then picked up my mother language pretty fast, and then came back and went to high school, and then university, and now I'm here.
I don't really quite get how the scene is in Canada or in Toronto, your city. How does it differ from the US?
Well, for one thing, I think it's very similar. I mean, there are a lot of the things that the Canadian market struggles with is actually the population of audiophiles, in my opinion. There is a strong group of people that really caters to high-end audio, and that's what I've actually found. But when it comes to like the lower price bracket or the mid price bracket, um, that it's not as strong as in the U.S. market. There's a lot more consumers in the U.S. market, in my opinion, and so it's a struggle for a lot of people here in Canada that's trying to do hi-fi business. But I think most of the people that do hi-fi business in Canada or in the US really isn't, a lot of people are talking about how, these companies are trying to rip you off or, make the most money out of you as possible. Well, I think that's not the case because the people that I've seen in the industry are all in this because they're passionate about audio. Like they could be doing anything else, but they're doing audio, right? And it's like they're struggling and they're not willing to quit. And I think a lot of people are very positive when it comes to doing business in audio because they are selling or pushing products that they believe in. And whether that correlates with what I believe is entirely different. And it's very interesting to see how even in the industry many people have very different taste and what they prefer to carry.
You still work in a store, right? Audio Excellence?
Right now it's uncertain because of the pandemic, but I'm assuming that I'll go back. But yeah, I worked in Audio Excellence for about 3 years now.
So that gives you a vast experience beyond what a reviewer could have. Even the audiophiliac, you probably have more hands-on experience with current stuff than I do, just because of the
Well,
volume of things in a store.
yeah, well, it's the first thing that I really wondered, and because I like to ask a lot of questions, is how does it like, actually differ? Like when you open up a $300 amplifier versus opening up a $50,000 amplifier, is there like what is the inner thing that's different? And later I learned those things and R&D process and stuff like that, which most of the stuff that I can't really talk about, but I got to one thing I really like about working in retail is not only do you gain experience talking to people that are looking to buy, right? So you have different perspective of people talking to you, and you're able to give advice. You're able to go on installations, um, and you're doing multiple things. You're sometimes you have to do repairs. My friends bring me stuff to repair all the time, and when I mean friends, I'm not talking about people in my age group because a lot of these friends that I have are people in the audiophile world that I've met through selling Canuck audio and clients and stuff like that. I consider them all my friends, and so I got to open up a lot of gear and sometimes fix it. Thank God they actually have faith in me to fix things. But yeah, and so it got me a lot of different ideas, and because I have energy and because I'm young, I guess I have enthusiasm to go out there and try different things like building my own speakers and failing miserably and finding out why, and yeah, stuff like that. So it's really fun. I like the fact that you get to experience a little bit of everything if you're willing to go out there, and yeah, that's the experience I got from there. Yeah. I don't have a ton of friends, but all of my friends, including my family members, they consider themselves audiophiles, and they either bought a headphone or they invested money in audio because it it's relatable. They are able to relate it. So I think that's the really way. The only way is for people that have a hobby and passion to reach out and show your passion, because the tendency is, I studied neuroscience in my university. The tendency is, right, if someone's really passionate about something, people take interest, right? So that's something that I think is the real way to do it. It's unfortunate that you know not I've seen very nice people, but some audiophiles are they're very close down. They're like, well, he doesn't know. And I experienced this myself. When I didn't know what a DAC was, I would go up to I learned what a DAC was through the internet, and I had people, right, and I would go up to them and say, hey, what's a DAC, right? And I feel like ashamed of asking them, what's a DAC? And they're like, what? What do you mean it's not, what? You don't know what DAC is? Oh, forget it.
Oh man.
Right? So I think that kind of attitude is not so good. You should reach out and tell people what a DAC is, be passionate about it. The first time I learned about a DAC, I wouldn't shut up about it. I'll go tell my mom, do you know what a DAC is? I just found it really cool, every aspect of it. So, you ask my mom will, explain to you exactly what a DAC is, because I've explained it to her for like 50 times over the past. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's just about, expressing your passion and really reaching out. And I think that's the key. Yeah.
So speaking of passion, I think
Mm-hmm.
one of the most gratifying things that happens to reviewers, on YouTube or in print or on the internet, is when the reviewer champions a speaker or some product that's not getting enough attention, and then get some buzz going, and then it kind of mushrooms. Like what I did with the Klipsch RP600M. It's like people knew Klipsch, and that speaker and that part of that whole line were out there and they were selling. But when I got really excited about it, other people started getting it and also getting it.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that is like a peak experience. Is it? But is there any products that you've championed that you really feel like you broke through to your audience with?
I think only recently, because my channel is, just reached 20,000 subscribers.
Right.
I thank you. I recently reviewed a tube amplifier called the Wilsington R8,
Okay.
and I really like that tube amplifier. So hopefully my passion came through, and I really really liked it. And for the price, I was just mind blown. So and that sold out like 5 times, and the seller tells me that it's been they've sold over 100 units after the review. So and they're still back ordered. So that, yeah. And there's people that got it already, and the first set of people, and they they're commenting saying, wow, it's great. They're emailing me saying, they're already thinking about upgrading. Slow down, guys. You just got it. And they're tube rolling and doing all these sort of things, and they're telling me how they feel about it. Some agree with me 100%. Some people are asking me, how can this aspect be improved? And but 100%, it's very gratifying when people find the same things you do. A lot of people are like saying, well, you're just saying good things about it. For whatever reason, you get the product, you get money, or whatever it is. I exactly write down what we do as a studio policy, like our YouTube policy, to avoid that conflict of interest on our about section of our channel. So just briefly, like, we don't talk about getting the product or receiving any type of money until the review is actually over and done with. So and then decision is made afterwards by the manufacturer and us. And I think that's a good way of doing it. That's one of the compromises that we came up with. But also, even if I get paid upfront or get the product, here's the thing. I truly think that time will tell. Meaning, if I champion a product that's, saying I say this speaker sounds really really good, and it's actually a shitty speaker, then people will buy it and say, what the hell is he talking about? And my credibility will go down. And time will tell that I'm a not honest reviewer. So I'm not gonna risk that for any type of money,
Mm.
because it took me time and effort and soul and passion to build my channel. So I think that's just something that I want to get out there, because I've never said that before.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely worth saying. Well, then I can now say thank you. Thank you, Jay, for being
Thank you.
Check out Jay's channel, The Next Big Thing Studio.
The next best thing.
Why is it hard to get it right? Next Best Thing Studio, right?
Steve, you gave me a shout out before on your 100K, I think. Yeah, 100K mark. And you said, oh, I want to thank all these channels. And you said the next big thing studio. My friends are like, Steve Guttenberg just gave us a shout out. Go check it out, Jay. And I go check it out, and you got our name wrong.
Yes.
And my friends were, jumping up and down, going like, oh no, he got our name wrong. I'm like, and actually Sean Zero Fidelity was telling me, maybe you should change the name. It's actually a better name. So the next big thing studio.
Well, I like the channel, whatever it's called.
I made it too long.
I will link to it, obviously, below, so that my viewers will definitely find you. That's great. I'm really glad we did this. We should do it more often.
For sure.
And now I will do my outro, which is, my name's Steve Guttenberg. This is the Audiophiliac Daily Show. Thank you for being here. Thank you again to my guest, Jay. And if you like what I do, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, and definitely subscribe to Jay's. And I hope to see you guys back here again very, very soon. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.